Donald Trump could soon be recognizing certain South Africans as terrorists. Here's what's happening. So US President Donald Trump recently made an executive order in which he decided that he would consider labeling certain chapters of the Muslim Brotherhood as terrorist organizations. And this can actually link back to several notable South Africans and South African-based organizations. But before we get into this, could I please remind you to subscribe to the channel? It's completely free, and all you have to do is click on the subscribe button in the bottom left corner of this video. Now let's get into it. So let's start off by taking a look at the White House's press statement. So, as is written here, this is the designation of certain Muslim Brotherhood chapters as foreign terrorist organizations and specially designated global terrorists. As the executive order reads, by the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the Immigration and Nationality Act and the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, it is hereby ordered. Section 1, Purpose. This order sets in motion a process by which certain chapters or other subdivisions of the Muslim Brotherhood shall be considered for designation as foreign terrorist organizations, consistent with Section 219 of the INA and specially designated global terrorists, consistent with IEEPA and Executive Order 13224 as of September 23, 2001. So in order to understand how this might actually affect certain South Africans and South African organizations, we need to get into the background of who the Muslim Brotherhood are and what Trump is attempting to do. So, as he explains in this executive order, the Muslim Brotherhood, founded in Egypt in 1928, has developed into a transnational network with chapters across the Middle East and beyond. So relevant here is chapters in Lebanon, Jordan, and Egypt engage in and facilitate and support violence and destabilization campaigns that harm their own regions. So, for example, in the aftermath of October 7th, 2023 attack in Israel, the military wing of the Lebanese chapter for the Muslim Brotherhood joined Hamas, Hezbollah, and Palestinian factions to launch multiple rocket attacks against both civilian and military targets within Israel. Now, it's very important that we acknowledge this because what we need to know is the undeniable ties between certain terror groups with the Muslim Brotherhood, as well as how they link back to South Africa. So here we have a fact sheet from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence of the United States, and this explains about Hamas and its background. Now, what I'd like for us to focus on is the origins. So Hamas formed in late 1987 at the beginning of the First Palestinian Intifada. Its roots are in the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, and it is supported by a robust socio-political structure inside the Palestinian territories. And so for a very long time, the Muslim Brotherhood has been viewed as a political network. They basically seem to look to advance the political agenda of their affiliates in various nations across the world, specifically in the Middle East, whereas groups such as Hamas and Hezbollah, they're the sort of armed militant wing of this grand operation. And so ultimately the Muslim Brotherhood are linked to these groups, they just perform different functions. Now, what's really important for us is to understand exactly who in South Africa is linked to the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas and how they are helping them. So, in my previous video about Imtiaz Sooliman, I explain exactly this. And in order to watch it, please click on the link above so that you can get the full context of what I'm about to explain to you. But for those of you who maybe just want to get on with this video without checking that one out, I'll give you a quick rundown. So in the specific article by the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, which is a think tank in Washington, which has helped several presidencies, including the Trump presidency, they've explained how Sooliman, as the founder and director of Gift of the Givers, was identified as part of the Union of Good as early as November 2002, according to the union's websites. So The United States sanctioned the Union of Good 6 years later, noting that the leadership of Hamas created the Union of Good in late 2000, shortly after the start of the Second Intifada, in order to facilitate the transfer of funds to Hamas. And so the gift of the givers, as an organization, and Suleiman individually, they've been linked to the Union of Good and therefore linked to providing terror financing to Hamas. We then also see that prior to the Gift of the Givers founding, Suleiman actually started the South African branch of the Al-Aqsa Foundation. Now, the United States has sanctioned the Al-Aqsa Foundation and its South African branch in 2003, and that's something we're going to get into in a minute. But what's also important to note is how in 2011, we see here that Suleiman also received an honor from leading Muslim Brotherhood aligned cleric Yusuf al-Qaradawi in 2011. And he's repeatedly made anti-Semitic statements alleging that the Zionists run the world with fear, they control the world with money. So getting into what we were saying about Washington taking action against Al-Aqsa International Foundation, here we have a press release explaining how the Treasury has designated the Al-Aqsa International Foundation as financier of terror charity linked to the funding of the Hamas terror organization. And as we've established, that the US government has linked Hamas to the Muslim Brotherhood, or more notably, the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. And so again, this is one connected network. As this explains here, the US Treasury Department has designated the Al-Aqsa Foundation as a specially designated global terrorist entity. But what's really important for us to note is that they've taken South Africa into special consideration. So here it explains, Al-Aqsa is a critical part of Hamas terrorist support infrastructure through its headquarters in Germany and branch offices in the Netherlands, Denmark, Belgium, Sweden, Pakistan, South Africa, Yemen, and elsewhere. Al-Aqsa funnels money collected for charitable purposes to Hamas terrorists. And as we know, Gift of the Givers is supposed to be a charity. And so what we see from all of this is that the United States is not taking its focus off of South Africa. We see how the United States has acknowledged the nefarious dealings of Imtiaz Suleiman, Gift of the Givers, and others who might be involved, and how they, in South Africa, have been interconnected with the likes of Hamas, with the likes of the Muslim Brotherhood at large, particularly through the Al-Aqsa Foundation. And what this latest executive order issued by the Trump administration shows us is that they are doubling down on the Muslim Brotherhood. They are doubling down on what they consider to be national security threats. And so it's very clear that what's going on in South Africa is no joke. I just mentioned in another video, the link to which is right above, how the Gift of the Givers pressured Durko and Home Affairs to allow a flight of Palestinian refugees into the country. We saw this happen just a few days ago, and the president himself acknowledged how they did not know who these people were. He even explained that these people just mysteriously arrived in the country. And so it has become very clear that there's a massive problem in South Africa whereby supposed terrorists and terror activities could be connected to people on the ground on South African soil. Clearly, this is a cause for concern for South Africans at large who want to keep the country safe from such dangerous dealings. Thank you very much for tuning into this video. If you found it informative, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more content. Until next time, I'm Matthew Cohen, and this is the Power Pod.